These are the three topics I'm about to talk about in this news mashup. And think about all three of these things put together. The push to make sure that parents have to be in the office away from their homes. The push for Republicans to eliminate the Department of Education. And these forced birther states, these Christo-fascist states, pushing to keep the Bible curriculum in schools. Think about how all of this will when you put it together, think about where we are marching towards. We're really marching towards a theocracy in this country, and there's no real stopping it. Project 2025 is really on the table. So go ahead and listen to all three of these. They make sense when you know what is coming from these Christo-fascists. All right, here's the video. I'm sure people that are paying attention already knew that this was coming. Elon Musk's first order of business in Trump administration to unalive remote work. They do not want people working from home and having the flexibility in their lives that people currently have right now. They need them in traffic. They need them to go into town and buy lunches and to buy clothes and uniforms and stuff. They need this so they can continue to have control. But let's get into the article. Donald Trump's appointee Elon Musk unveiled his first blueprint to radically shrink the federal bureaucracy, which includes a strict return to office mandate. This, he says, would save taxpayers hundreds of billions of dollars a year, if not more. Together with partner Vivek Ramaswamy, Musk is set to lead a task force he has called the Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE, after his favorite cryptocurrency. The department has three main goals: eliminating regulations wherever possible, gutting a workforce no longer needed to enforce said red tape, and driving productivity to prevent needless waste. With a decisive electoral mandate and a 6-3 conservative majority on the Supreme Court, DOGE has a historic opportunity for structural reductions in the federal government, the pair wrote in an op-ed for the Wall Street Journal published on Wednesday. 2 million workers whose salaries are paid by every American taxpayer, those no longer willing or able to come into the office 5 days a week can find gainful employment in the private sector. They won't be missed, according to the pair. They're counting on a wave of voluntary departures by bureaucrats to help them enact their plans. According to a September congressional report, over 2 million Americans are gainfully employed by Uncle Sam. Importantly, this already excludes military personnel, the U.S. Postal Service, and most of the legislative and judicial branches. The number of federal employees to cut should be at least proportionate to the number of federal regulations that are nullified. The ultimate goal is mass headcount reductions across the federal bureaucracy, according to the DOGE co-leads. They didn't provide specific numbers, but it would likely be modeled along Musk's 80% cutback in Twitter's workforce. Contrary to prevailing opinion at the time, it did not prevent the social media company from maintaining service for users. Musk and Ramaswamy target $2 trillion in federal cuts. Tesla and SpaceX CEO Musk has floated plans to cut $2 trillion from the federal budget, nearly a third of the 6.75 trillion fiscal total. The proposal, unprecedented in scope, focuses on areas ripe for reform, according to Musk and the biotech entrepreneur Ramaswamy. Much of the federal budget, Social Security, and other mandatory entitlements will remain largely untouched owing to legal and political constraints, apart from efforts to address fraud. Another $800 billion is earmarked for the Department of Defense, which recently failed its 7th consecutive audit, presenting opportunities for waste reduction. However, their immediate goal is to slash $500 billion in annual discretionary spending authorized by unelected bureaucrats rather than Congress. Targets include $500 million for the Corporation for Public Broadcasting and $300 million for Planned Parenthood. Executive orders and SCOTUS backing. Musk and Ramaswamy argue that Congress's approval isn't required. Citing recent Supreme Court rulings, they claim executive orders provide sufficient authority to dismantle regulations exceeding statutory limits. The use of executive orders to repeal overreach is not only legitimate, it's necessary, they wrote, framing entrenched bureaucracy as a threat to democracy. Political risks loom large. Such deep cuts, however, could alienate Trump's base. Federal workforce reductions would impact red states alongside blue ones. Alabama, for instance, employs 40,000 federal workers, nearly as many as New York's 53,000, despite a population one quarter of the size. Pennsylvania's 10th district, which leans heavily Republican, supports 13,000 federal employees. We are ready for resistance from Washington's entrenched interests, they wrote, expressing confidence in their success. Their timeline is tight. Musk and Ramaswamy plan to dissolve their initiative dubbed DOGE by July 2026, well before the midterm elections. The thing is, they say that they're ready for resistance from Washington's entrenched interests, but these are real life people. They want to get rid of jobs for real life people. They want to impact people by making them go into an office when people were able to still take care of their family obligations and work. They want to I don't know why they're talking so much about this, considering people voted for Trump supposedly for the economy. And then they want to come in and strip away people's ability to even live. Elon Tusk talks a lot about the birth rate and how it's plummeting, and I do too. He wants the birth rate to climb, but how would that happen if people like him and Ramaswamy are sitting on piles of money like Scrooge McDuck, and everybody else is struggling to, buy food and how maybe housing insecure, might be one blown tire away from just being flat out broke. And then on top of that, they want to get rid of people's ability to earn a living, on top of the other things that they got going on in this Trump administration, as far as the tariffs, the mass deportations, even though mass deportations will impact the agriculture economy. And then you impact the agriculture economy, that means that food prices will inevitably go up. What they're looking to do is going to, if they are successful at all of the things that they are talking about, lots of people will be impacted. And this is not going to be a pretty sight at all. But this is what they voted for. So let me know your thoughts on this one. Join the conversation. Don't forget to like, comment, and share. Trump said he wants to get rid of the Department of Education, and his Republican soldiers are looking to do just that. They have their marching orders, and they are looking to put these plans into action. Congressional Republicans continue to introduce bills eliminating the Department of Education because this will take a congressional mandate. South Dakota Senator Mike Rounds introduced the Returning Education Back to Our States Act on Thursday, signaling a commitment to deliver President-elect Donald Trump's vow to dismantle the Department of Education. In the conservative movement to return education back to local control, Rounds said the legislation would eliminate the department while redistributing all critical federal programs to other agencies. Even though, consider, these agencies could be working on things that are in their agency. Rounds' announcement was first reported by Fox News. For years, I've worked toward removing the federal Department of Education, the Republican senator wrote in a statement, adding, I'm pleased that President-elect Trump shares this vision, and I'm excited to work with him and Republican majorities in the Senate and House to make this a reality. This legislation is a roadmap to eliminating the federal Department of Education by practically rehoming these federal programs in the departments where they belong, which will be critical as we move into the next year. In his statements, Round said the United States spends too much on education for students' test scores to be lagging behind other countries in standardized assessments. He called the Department of Education ineffective and earmarked the department's responsibilities for the Departments of Interior, Treasury, Health and Human Services, Labor, and State, according to the bill text. The Individuals with Disability Education Act and aid programs under Title VIII of the Elementary and Secondary Education Act will be transferred to the Department of Health and Human Services. The Office of Indian Education of the Department of Education will be transferred to the Department of the Interior. The federal Pell Grant and other higher education loan programs will be transferred to the Department of the Treasury. According to the bill, the Treasury Department will allocate block grants to the states for K through 12 and post-secondary education. The Treasury Secretary also has the power to withhold these funds if they are mishandled by the states. The Justice Department will oversee federal civil rights laws that were previously under Title VI. Kentucky Representative Thomas Massie told ABC News Thursday morning that he will also bring forward legislation to abolish the DOE within the first few weeks of the 119th Congress. There will only be one sentence. Only thing that will change is the date. The Department of Education shall terminate on December 31st, 2026, Massie told ABC News. Massie has been pushing to defund the U.S. Department of Education since the start of 2023 when he introduced H.R. 899. Massie's bill wasn't voted on in the House last year. However, education analyst Neil McCluskey at the Cato Institute, a libertarian think tank, argued Massie's one-sentence bill was not realistic. You've got to figure out what to do with all the legislation that feeds into the Department of Education, McCluskey said. If Congress were to pass that law that says abolish the Department of Education, technically the department would go away. But then you'd have all sorts of questions. Well, who's going to administrate or be the administrator for all these programs? He said. In March 2023, Massie wrote an Amendment H, Amendment 124 in H.R. 5, the Parents' Bill of Rights Act, the House's signature K through 12 education policy to abolish the department. That amendment failed as all Democrats and 60 House Republicans voted against it. Here are ways to gut the department. Even as Republicans hold majorities in both chambers next Congress, the Senate typically needs 60 votes to do anything, according to McCluskey. McCluskey said there's no chance they're going to get 60. They're going to be at 60. So it's going to be tough to abolish the department legislatively. The Department of Education administers a whole lot of laws, and then those laws have to be changed about who runs the student aid and who is tasked with making decisions about canceling student debt and who decides or who administers Title I and lots of other federal programs, McCluskey told ABC News. He, President-elect Trump, can certainly use the bully pulpit to drive this a lot. He could provide legislative blueprints if he wanted to, but ultimately it has to come through Congress. Meanwhile, Augustus Mays, Vice President for Partnerships and Engagement at the advocacy group The Education Trust, told ABC News that the president-elect could also ask Congress to gut federal programs like Title I, the Every Student Succeeds Act, and others in his congressional budget request. Public education, particularly in high-needs districts, would effectively be drained of millions of dollars, according to Mays. It would really cripple the ability to function and aid the support that these students need to really succeed from an academic standpoint. This administration and Republicans in general want an uneducated mass of Americans. They really do not value education, and lots of people will be impacted if these Republicans are successful. So this is what you voted for, MAGA people. This is what you voted for, MAGA, because he actually said this many, many times. So let's not be confused that they're actually really trying to do this, to gut the Department of Education. Do you have a child that is special needs or have any kind of disability that they're working with and get aid for? Did you get any Pell Grants and now you want to snatch the ladder away from those who might need a helping hand? The student loans. Not all of us had a college fund. Did you have a college fund? Did you have to take out student loans? So it is going to be a cluster F of major proportions, but it's right in alignment with what he said he wanted to do. So let's see how this works out for us, all of us, because all of us are impacted by an uneducated mass. We already see that with the way MAGA is now, uneducated and low information voters. Let me know what you think about this one. Don't forget to like, comment, and share. We're marching closer and closer to a theocracy. These red states keep pushing the limit and thinking that everybody deserves a Christian education, despite the fact that people could literally just go to church and Sunday school. But no, they need to put it in people's schooling as well. That's where we are. Texas board approves Bible curriculum option in public schools. Keep in mind, Oklahoma just did this with the Oklahoma superintendent saying you have to teach the Bible. Louisiana is pushing to make sure that the Ten Commandments is put up. This is just where they are. They are really pushing for a theocracy. The Texas Board of Education approved a new K through 12 curriculum that allows Bible teaching in the classrooms. The curriculum includes biblical and Christian lessons about Moses, the story of the Good Samaritan, the Golden Rule, readings from the book of Genesis, and more. The accuracy of the materials has come under scrutiny. For example, the curriculum claims Abraham Lincoln and other leading abolitionists relied on a deep Christian faith, though Lincoln's religion has historically been debated. The instructional materials called Blue Bonnet Learning are developed by the state according to Texas Education Agency. The lessons would be optional, but districts can receive at least $40 per student for using state-approved materials according to local legislation. Some supporters of instituting religion in the curriculum say that these religious texts are important for the historical context of U.S. history and can instill moral values in the classroom. While some critics said this violates the First Amendment right to freedom of religion for students and teachers, forcing classrooms to engage in Christian instruction. Texas Governor Greg Abbott has spoken in support of the Texas Education Agency's curriculum after signing legislation directing the Texas Education Agency to purchase and develop instructional materials. The materials will also allow our students to better understand the connection of history, art, community, literature, and religion on pivotal events like the signing of the U.S. Constitution, the Civil Rights Movement, and the American Revolution, Abbott said in a May statement. I thank the TEA for their work to ensure our students receive a robust educational foundation to succeed so that we can build a brighter Texas for generations to come. The Freedom from Religion Foundation, an advocacy organization centering on separation of state and church, has criticized the curriculum, claiming leaders are determined to turn the state's public schools into Christian training grounds. The curriculum targets the youngest, most impressionable elementary students, starting by introducing kindergartners to Jesus, FFRF co-president Annie Laurie Gaylor said in an online statement ahead of the vote. Religious instruction is the purview of parents, not proselytizing school boards. This is a shameful ruse by Christian nationalists in Texas who see the schools as a mission field. States like Texas, Oklahoma, Louisiana, and others have been behind the push to enforce Christian-based school requirements, including implementation of Bibles, the Ten Commandments, and other religious doctrines in schools. I don't know about y'all, but I'm tired. Many of us who read through Project 2025, even skimmed through Project 2025, knew that this was coming. The way they have been banning books, that everything is coming full circle. They are really trying to push their way of life, and I don't know what to do or say about this except just bring you the news. Join the conversation. Let me know what you think about this. Don't forget to like, comment, and share.